Welcome to Ohio Voices Informing Energy Choices. I am your guide or your moderator tonight, Jasmine Henderson. So welcome back. This is my first time being back in the seat for Ohio Voices Informing Energy Choices. Last time I got the privilege of being on this show highlighting Bell Action Fund, which I'm the outreach coordinator for. So wanted to welcome you back into this space. Tonight we are talking about the impacts of solar and community solar, right? And then we're going to talk about what are our or who are our guests. We're going to get into our guests in a couple of moments. You know what we like to do here? We like to set the vibe. We like to set the container. So first of all, want to give a shout out to who keeps the lights on and keeps us coming back and being in community with one another. That is Black environmental leaders, okay? And CommEN strategies. So Black environmental leaders is a nonpartisan I can't even talk today, y'all, because it's been so long since I've been moderating equitable and shared leadership model of environmentalists and environmental justice experts across Ohio. And we're committed to transitioning Ohio, the United States, and the world into an environmentally green and healthy society where we can all thrive in. We're rooted in our AI square model, right? Our AI square model consists of two A's and one I. And that's why it's called the AI square model. It is to advocate, so to be a strong advocate, to speak out against environmental injustices, right? The second is to incubate, so creating a safe space, just like this one is today, for multi-generational environmental leaders to commune, to grow, and to learn from one another, right? And then it is to inform. So we are a clearinghouse for truthful, contextual, and multi-dimensional information and data, and also education that impacts the complexities of who we are, our communities, and what we represent in order to take up more space and also to give harm reduction to the harm that is already taking place within our communities, right? And our last point is our tribal system. So our tribal system is how we commit to doing different types of programming, like Ohio Voices Informing Energy Choices, that contributes to what our daily work is, right? And we also have the Action Fund, which I'm a part of. It's just our political leg. So it's another extension of what self-representation and self-determination looks like as we determine what policies we need and how to take up more space in that arena. It was founded in 2021, and it consists of partners that are our community leaders, local government entities, foundations, and different sectors of the environment, of public health, and different government sectors, right? And we do this just to talk about research, practice, and strategy so that we can continue to contribute to the AI squared model, right? And all of this led to what Ohio Voices Informing Energy Choices, which is the container that we're in tonight. And this is just a communal space for environmental justice advocates, activists, and organizers to come together to learn legislation and policy and the legislative processes that impacts our lives and our lived experiences. But we add another layer on top of that, and that is through the lens of environmental justice at the local, the statewide, and the national levels. Last year, we talked about EJA, or our Energy Jobs and Justice Act. That bill was instrumental in getting through the State House. We're actually going to be in the processes of talking about EJA in the coming seasons, right? And what we're going to do, or what we have done so far, is really learning about the places and the spaces that legislative and executive processes take place, and then how they impact our lives here. So for this reason, we've learned so far this season how the State House works. We learned about a circular economy, and we've also talked to people like Tanisha Green and Aharon from Riddle and the UAI, who tell us what it means to live in a circular economy, what it means to take up more space and have a green economy and be in productive businesses and productive spaces while doing that, and what that means for our community, right? I already told y'all a little bit about me. I'm just Jasmine, the community organizer or the community holder tonight and the moderator. My background is in social justice organizing, community building, political strategy, and different things like that. In addition, I am also the outreach coordinator for Bell Action Fund, and I'm supporting environmental justice initiatives in the Dayton area. But tonight, I'm honored to play the role as moderator while we learn about what is solar and what community solar is, okay? And so with that, we are going to just move right into who are our panelists, right? And so our panelist tonight is Roger Sikes. Roger is the Policy and Advocacy Campaigner in the states of Ohio, Indiana, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania as Solar United Neighbors. And our second guest is Adam Durden, the CEO and founder of Durden Improvements. So we're going to start with Roger. Just come off mute and tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do at Sun.
Hey y'all, it's wonderful to be here. Jasmine and Black Environmental Leaders, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. So I'm the Policy and Advocacy Campaigner at Solar United Neighbors. I focus on our Heartland region. Just a little bit about me. My roots are in Atlanta, Georgia, and the near west side of Cleveland and Lakewood, Ohio. Right now, I live over in the West Boulevard neighborhood, the kind of Cadell, Clifton Baltic neighborhood. How I got involved in stuff. My dad was a union member. He was a letter carrier, growing up. And I didn't realize it at the time, but we had some stability. We had a roof. We had a car pretty much all the time growing up. And I kind of got involved in issues when I moved back down to Atlanta. That's where I was born. And I moved down there to study public health. But in Atlanta, I got involved in union organizing issues. So working with cafeteria workers and bus drivers and trying to build coalitions with faith organizations and students, and really fighting to improve wages, benefits, and working conditions, and trying to figure that out. So a lot of my experience is really steeped in, how you get people together, how you leverage power, how you build coalitions, and how you push decision makers, from the outside. And then, from there, I moved back up to Cleveland. And I worked in public health for a number of years at the regional public health department. I worked on grocery store issues of access and quality. I did gun violence prevention work, doing like youth mentoring programs at public basketball courts. And now I'm at Solar United Neighbors. So I would say my lens is really in coalition building and policy and power building. I'm learning the energy landscape and the technicalities, but I'm kind of bringing this experience of how we leverage power and translate things to make them understandable and relevant to work in families. So that's what I bring to Solar United Neighbors.
Thank you so much for that. Some of that I knew about you, Roger, but some of that I did not know. So it's so interesting. I'm hearing you tell more of your story. And next, we're going to turn it over to Adam Durden. Tell us more about yourself and your work, sir.
Yes, how's everybody doing tonight, this evening? Good, good. Yeah, so my name's Adam Durden. I'm co-founder of Durden Improvements and DNA Construction. I've been doing construction for 10 years. I'm 25 years old. I did solar for about 4 or 5 years, starting in like 2019. I do installs on the solar side. So I started off as an installer, worked my way up the chain. I moved out to Missouri, did solar out there for a little while. Then I moved from Missouri to Kentucky, did solar out there. And my experience with the solar is pretty crazy. I really like it. You know what I'm saying? It paid me well. And I think it's actually going to change the world. You know what I mean? Honestly, over time, I see a lot of people going solar. You know what I'm saying, getting these battery backup systems, you know what I'm saying, the backup loads in their homes and stuff like that. And it's really evolving, you know what I'm saying, all around, you know what I'm saying. Every state I've been to, you know what I'm saying, one person in the neighborhood gets solar, then the next people get solar. And also by myself, I do major rehabs. So I do full home renovations, stuff like that. Yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
Love it, love it. So, Adam, you're bringing the practical knowledge of how this could change our lives and change our communities. Like you said, as soon as you install solar in one community, another community hops on soon thereafter, right? And so that is fundamentally why we are talking about solar tonight. So, for the next couple of minutes, we're going to talk about what solar is, because here at OVIC, or Ohio Voices Informing Energy Choices, we have not talked about what solar is, right? So, according to Britannica and the Department of Energy, y'all know I stay on the internet doing some research. Solar energy is radiation from the sun that's capable of producing two types of energy. One is thermal or heat, and the other is electrical energy or electricity, right? And solar energy is just electromagnetic radiation. So it's the type of heat or the type of solar energy, when it hits something, it causes it to vibrate. or that's better known as light energy. So the reason that you can see all of us right now is because we're in and around some light. And the only reason all this could happen is because we have electricity, right? And the electricity comes from light. And again, those two primary forms that solar energy has is heat or thermal and electrical, right? And so the funny part about solar energy is there's so much electromagnetic radiation that hits the earth in just a half hour. It could provide enough energy for the globe for 1 year, making it one of the most abundant, diffuse, and underutilized natural resources that we actually have on earth, right? And that is one of the things we have to talk about when we're talking about the impact of solar energies, because we naturally have so much of it because the proximity of where we are and how close we are to our sun, right? Okay, so how do we capture all of this solar energy and turn it either into heat or electricity? And so one of the most common ways is what we would call the flat plate collectors, right? And this is what is called photovoltaic capturing or electricity, what's better known as PV. And what happens is when sunlight hits these flat plate collectors, it creates an electrical spark. And that electrical spark is either stored in a carrier fluid that can either be water or another liquid or air, right? And this is the most common type of solar energy capture that we have right now. There's other types in rural areas that really isn't in reference to where the current industry is regarding solar energy. And that kind of deals with solar ponds. And that's only in very rural areas and typically only used for agricultural, industrial, and retail products, right? And that's what happens when there's salt in those ponds, right? And the salt is used to collect and store both thermal and electrical energy. This energy is often used to heat greenhouses and provide electricity to greenhouses in very rural areas and keeping livestock warm in the winter months. And it's also used, ironically, for heating swimming pools, right? And so now that I've explained what solar energy is and how we can capture it to turn it into different types of energy, we are going to move into our question section with our two panelists. And this next question, both gentlemen, you can come off mute, and this is a community conversation. So we're just going to talk more about solar options and reaching out to people of color, right? So according to GRIST and Climate Desk publications, which are two publications that have talked about the impact that solar energy can have on BIPOC communities, we're figuring out that solar isn't reaching people of color or BIPOC communities fast enough for us to be in the forefront of renewable energy and harm reduction in renewable energy. How can we educate our communities, BIPOC communities, working class communities, and environmentally oppressed communities on solar energy? And I'll mute myself and turn it over to y'all.
I'll give it a shot here. Yeah, I think there are a few things. One, putting panels on your own roof, it can be a pretty big upfront cost. Adam, I'm curious in your experience how costs have been and like the work that you do, how the solar panel costs are with the installs that you're doing. I think also though it's about like meaningful outreach and meaningful engagement. I think a lot of times, when we do outreach, we're maybe doing some stuff online, maybe we're sending an email, putting something on a website. I think part of it is the age old, like, are we getting in communities and relating to people in places where they feel comfortable and where they have love, where they feel loved? And so, yeah, that's in the neighborhood, in churches, at people's doors, but really like face-to-face engagement. So I do think like the solar industry, solar interests, like being more engaged in working class communities, because we're not as much as we should. So that's certainly something that we could do much better on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Building community is the perfect answer, y'all. Like building community, because a lot of times when we're talking about clean or renewable energy, because so many BIPOC communities, so many working class communities, so many communities that have been environmentally harmed or oppressed are like stuck in survival mode. And so a lot of times how things like renewable energy or solar energy or even circular economies, which we already take up space and we're already doing within our communities, but because they're not named that in so many ways and because we're in survival mode, we often miss the mark when it comes to educating the community about the impact of it because it's often not in a language that they can understand, right? And it often doesn't look like our battle from the outside looking in until somebody comes in and be like, no, 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 you at the heart of this battle, right? And so I think that's one of the most important things because when I've been talking to people about solar, that's one of the things that I hear personally is, well, what does that got to do with me? And I'm like, well, let me tell you about our community, sis. It got a lot to do with us, and we can stand to benefit a lot from it because there's 5 brownfields in the community. There's other things that we can use as forms of harm reduction to make a case for why solar should exist in our neighborhoods or why it should exist in infrastructure building when we're having community conversations, um, like with our commissioners in the city, right? And so those are things that I think is really important. I didn't know, Aaron, did you have any thoughts about it? Because you have a very hands-on, or Adam, I'm so sorry, I called you Aaron. You have a hands-on perspective with regard to the
Yeah, I do.
industry.
Yeah, I do. So pretty much, from my experience with it and what you're saying, I feel like I just recently built the dome, if you guys know, out in Cleveland with my brother Aharon. And just the experience of, what I'm saying, it being 100% off grid, you know what I'm saying? And I do solar, like I said, I do installs on solar, you know what I'm saying? It's different, you know what I mean? From it being 100% off grid versus something being tied into the grid, if you get what I mean. So, and then, you know what I'm saying, with just doing that, we teach the community also, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, these type of practices and these types of things can help our community, you know what I mean? Type of deal. And that's how I see it benefiting our community, you know what I'm saying? Us really being on the ground, doing the work, and then being able to show the community, like, okay, this is how it benefits and helps our community as well. So.
Yes, sir. Sovereignty and self-representation. We take what we feel and what we want for ourselves and the life that we want, and we then turn it into something. And I think community solar absolutely does that for people who want to live off grid or have other options for how they interact in community spaces. So thank you so much for saying that, Adam. And yes, we are absolutely going to talk about the dome in a later question that you build with Aharon. That's why I accidentally called you Aaron, because I was thinking of Aharo.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, y'all, we're gonna move on to the next question, right? And so this is a question for both of us. And Roger, you kind of hinted at this, is how do we overcome the financial burdens and the other burdens to solar energy installs or just solar energy options? Because it's also an infrastructure issue, right? And so how can we kind of help overcome the financial burdens right now of making sure that solar is more accessible?
Yeah. I think the financial challenges, burdens are real, and they are a fundamental challenge to rooftop solar for working class people. So that is like not to gloss over that, but some solutions to that. One, I do think the fundamental: are we engaging low income communities in serious ways and giving them the option, helping them imagine what it could look like on their own homes? That's the first step, and doing that in a serious way. Be the first step. And then I think, being strategic here, are there local government programs at the city level, at the county level that says, hey, we're going to fund 40 houses that's in a red line neighborhood, and we're going to cover 90% of those costs for solar projects, for example. What we do, at Solar United Neighbors, one of the approaches that we take is getting groups of people together who want to go rooftop solar. So, hey, if you have 100 families that want to go solar, we can oftentimes leverage that scale to get installers to reduce their costs and help with some of those big upfront costs. So that's perhaps another way. And then lastly, I think community solar, which we'll get into a little bit later, I do think that's a strategy to really opening up solar access to the people.
Absolutely. Community solar and looking to our municipalities and our state and grant processes that can help also fund community solar. And we're going to learn more about that in a couple minutes. I didn't know, Adam, if you had anything to contribute about the financial barriers, or like, is there anything you know about pricing or credit or different things like
Yeah,
that?
like I feel like he was saying, I feel like the community solar it brings a major part in you know what I mean, the programs and different things like that as well. But like solar, community solar, that's big. If we had like solar farms, like you know what I'm saying, for example, if you drive out in Las Vegas and you see that the MGM has this huge solar farm that runs all their hotels and stuff like that. If we had a solar farm that could run, okay, the central neighborhood or the Kinsman neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? It will help these homes, you know what I'm saying? Like you guys are saying, save energy and save money. But it would have to come down to us getting programs in these neighborhoods, because it's hard for the people to afford it. It's really expensive, like you know what I'm saying? From being able to see the prices of these installs is crazy. You know, it will never be able to be done in our neighborhood because, you know, we don't have the money, we don't have the funds for it.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for saying that. Go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, I was thinking along those lines, Adam, and just even like, the incentives, you know, that there is some big stuff out there, the Inflation Reduction Act, that there's kind of big federal funding to help some of these projects, you know, and for example, if they're in lower income neighborhoods or working class neighborhoods, you can get a bigger tax credit. You can get like 10% if you're in a lower income neighborhood. If you're on a brownfield site, you can get a bigger tax credit. And then also there's a 30% tax credit for every homeowner that does go solar. So there are these federal funds, but I think the key is like demystifying it and helping people get that and be like, hey, this money's for you. And we got to connect that and help people hold folks' hands or demand it. Because some of the government funding that's out there, we got to make sure it gets to people.
Emphasis on making sure that government money that's already earmarked for us gets to us. Please don't even get me started on that tangent, because it's like one of my favorite rabbit holes to go down is earmarks and funding. But that emphasis of that, and also when a community can absorb a responsibility together, it's much easier for us to be able to provide new incentives or new ways to have renewable energy options when we come together as a community and we cooperate together. That's going to be the fastest way right now that we have to making sure that our communities and our neighborhoods and our homes are in the forefront of renewable energy, and to make sure that we're not left behind. So I wanted to overemphasize all of that, right? I think we've already answered number 5, so I'm actually going to move on, Roger, to number 6, and just tell us about what is community solar and what do the current cooperative programs around community solar look like in Ohio?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna give this a shot, and then like Adam, Jasmine, I am curious. Just you know, put it out there how y'all understand it. Because I do think a key thing is how we understand community solar, how we talk about it. So I'm gonna give it a try. Okay, so currently in Ohio, the way that our system is set up is that you can only have solar panels like on your own property. So your solar panels, they can be on your own roof or, you know, in the land adjacent to your property. And then you can get the benefit of that solar energy. That's kind of currently our framework. You got to have the panels to get the benefit. They got to be on your own property. And again, that's nice for the folks who can afford that, who have their own roofs, who don't rent, you know, but we know that's very limiting. A lot of folks don't got the money to do it. They don't got a roof that makes sense. They might rent, et cetera. So a whole lot of people cannot put panels on their own roof for various reasons. We know that. So what community solar would do, it would change the framework in Ohio. And it would say that, hey, I live across the street from a school, Cleveland Public School, Louisa May Alcott. There could be solar panels on top of that school or over the parking lot. And then neighbors in the area, we could all subscribe to those panels and get credits from those panels that aren't on our property. You know, or if there's a brownfield site, y'all, if there's a, you know, an abandoned industrial building, you know, in your neighborhood, panels could go on there, and then people in the neighborhood or in the area could subscribe and get those benefits. And so what that would mean in practice is, one, you wouldn't need the big upfront cost to buy your own panels. A lot more people could subscribe to shares of those panels and get that solar energy, and it ultimately reduce electric costs for a lot more people. But essentially, it would really open up access to a whole lot more people. I'll stop there. What do y'all think? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think it makes beautiful sense. I can reiterate back to you if you would like.
Yeah, or say that again, Jasmine?
I can reiterate back to you just to make sure
Yeah.
or reaffirm you if you would like. Okay, so what we understand right now about community solar, right, is the current state of solar means that you have to have those flat panels that we talked about, and they have to be on your property, right, in order for you to currently use it. But community solar changes that component because it would help absorb the upfront cost of getting those panels and doing the install and then installing it to your homes in order to produce the electricity. And so, for example, we can use community spaces like schools or parking lots or brownfields, and there are plenty of brownfields in Ohio, as spaces to have those plate conductors, right, to be able to have solar energy. And then if you buy a share of it, the share and the installation costs and everything else of providing community solar would then be distributed to the homes, which means more people can benefit from it. And you also get a credit kickback or incentive because A, you bought a share, and then B, a lot of the energy that can be generated probably wouldn't be used all up, right? Or it could be given to other people in other parts of the grid. Is that pretty much a good explanation of community solar? Okay. Mr. Adam, do you have anything to contribute around what you've seen in other places around the country with regard to community solar, or what it looks like and
Yeah,
how it rolls out for communities?
yeah, I do. So like I said, just traveling over the world and seeing different. For example, in Arizona, it's real big on solar, and you go to drive through these neighborhoods, and you really see that every house has solar. So I feel like community solar is more so like where every house in this neighborhood needs solar on it and should benefit from being able to save energy on their home 100% if they own or if they don't own, because that'll help even save on the electric bill for the people that are renting these homes out, because you know what I mean, it gets real expensive, in the winter when the windows aren't sealed right and all of these things are different components of the house aren't right, and it's not even on you, but at the same time you're still paying the $230 electric bill. So it's like I think a little bit more so on the community solar. These all homes should have solar, and we don't just put solar on houses as well. We also do ground mount. So like I mean, in the hood it's definitely not a lot of land, but some what I'm saying, some houses could use ground mounts, what I'm saying, where these roofs aren't even structured right for solar panels on the roofs, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's what I feel like on the community solar behalf.
Thank you. Tell us more for context. What are ground mounts?
So a ground mount is pretty much it's pretty much in the ground. You got galvanized steel. You post pound them in the ground about 4 to 6 feet in the ground. You have about 6 feet hanging out, and they're tilted at a 30-degree angle, 180 degrees south. That's directly facing the sun. So when the sun's at a full tilt, it's at 180 degrees south. So that's how we do it. We run a trench to the main service line. We punch in. We tie into the main service line, and then, what I'm saying, boom, from there. But that's just a basic system. And then you go into having a battery backup. You run the battery backup to your main service line. You run the loads over. You transfer the loads into a combiner box. And when your power goes off, those loads will stay on because you have the battery backup. You know what I mean? So you'll have your furnace backed up. You'll have your refrigerator backed up. You'll have your microwave backed up. So when this power goes out, you're still saving, your electricity is still on. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel about that.
Mhm.
Amazing. Thank you for saying that. I'm so glad I asked that question because I didn't know what ground mounds were. So thank you so much for talking about that. And with us talking, we've already answered the other question, which is how can community solar help BIPOC, low income, and environmentally oppressed communities? And just to reiterate, just the absorbing the cost benefit, more people getting to be able to play. And what I mean by play is be able to show up, right? When community members show up and can buy into something, we can show up in a myriad or variety of ways, especially economically, to make sure that our community is taken care of. And I think that especially with the brownfields, like in my community, there are 5 brownfields just in West Dayton alone. West Dayton has like a 60% a Black population, right? This would be a great place to have things like community solar in these 5 brownfields that we cannot or should not be using, right? Which is a whole nother conversation. Okay. And this leads into my next question with regard to how does community solar help with job creation, workforce development, and entrepreneurship in our communities? This got to be my favorite question because I'm all about how do we build economic power? And this is for both. This is for both of y'all.
Yeah. Go ahead, Adam. Take this one.
I got you guys. That's a big one there. On the job creation side, so for my first company I worked for, they were a really fast growing solar company and they gave everybody an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So for community solar, I feel like in the entrepreneur side, I'll get into the entrepreneur side. I'm gonna just start with the aspect where I'm going. So they gave everybody opportunity. You really didn't have to know how to install solar to work for this company. You know what I mean? But they had master electricians that we worked underneath so that we were able to perform the work on people's houses in these main service panels. So I feel like it's a big margin if you could get the right amount of people. Everybody wants to install solar, but they don't know how to install it, is what I'm saying. If you got the right leaders in position to teach these people how to install it, it'd be beneficial to our community because it pays well. It pays very good. If I'll tell you guys that it pays very well. And on the entrepreneur side, it's not easy to really be I try to start up my own solar company. It's just a lot of certifications and stuff that plays in the factor. So it comes down to the money that you have to even be able to start up your own solar company. You know, how much equipment you will need to start up your own solar company and all those type of aspects. But I believe it's a big growing industry and it's definitely a lot of jobs in the solar industry if you know what you're doing. So.
Thank you for that perspective. Thank you so much for that entrepreneurial perspective too, and telling us how expensive it is and the certifications to go about doing that. And I want to turn it over to you, Roger, because I saw you come off mute.
Yeah, and I just add, like, if we can pass community solar legislation in Ohio and kind of open Ohio up to community solar, that we're going to see a big expansion of installs, community solar installs. So the production of panels. So, one from the manufacturing side, where Ohio is pretty unique in that it has a fair amount of solar panel manufacturing. So not only the panels themselves, but like what Adam was talking about, the ground mounts. We've got companies right here in Ohio that manufacture these ground mounts. And then when you have these bigger community solar arrays, people got to install them, and so those are the installs themselves, there's the electricians, and the kind of all the adjacent industries around that. So it would create a lot of jobs in the state of Ohio. I think the question, like anything though, is like, how can we organize to make sure that those jobs are getting to the folks who really need it? And like anything, it's like, how can we put pressure to make sure, hey, new folks are getting trained, or folks in communities that have been left out are getting the jobs, getting the training, getting advantages so that they can get into this space. And it's like anything. You got to organize, push, raise our voices, even doing stuff like this, just get in the mix. How can folks get out ahead of this? If we know it's coming, we're going to pass this bill, y'all. It's going to happen. How can we organize now to make sure that the jobs and the benefits go where they need to?
Also, I want to say this too. If we also had programs so I got a brand, A Money the brand. It also stands for Always Motivate Our New Entrepreneur Youth. But where we have a program where we are teaching these types of aspects, even all types of construction, including solar, for free, so that people, the youth, or the up and coming new entrepreneurs are able to be taught this stuff and be able to be ready when these opportunities come ahead of us like this. You know what I mean? So if we had programs that, we had a teacher or an instructor that teaches this stuff, it'll help out our communities as well. So we can get a lot more people in the door and teach them these practices. So.
Yes, thank y'all so much for adding both perspectives. Number one, what I heard was to me, technical assistance. There should be no reason why a Black entrepreneur who wanted to start a solar company could not, because of technical issues and administrative issues, such as certifications, right? So making sure that we have technical assistance programs within our workforce development, and making sure that things like Bail, which was instrumental in EJA, the Energy Jobs and Justice Act, provide the houses or the executive pathways that we need to provide that trade skill development, to be able to get that skill set into our communities, be able to label our communities as at risk or being exploited or being environmentally oppressed, so that we can mitigate a budget and a level of accountability into those spaces, so that we can begin to develop a skill set for people. And as they find out that they love this and they want to do it, creating programs to help them build businesses around it, or providing them for opportunities to be our future educators, right? Because we still need those master electricians who taught Adam, right? So what if those master electricians were Black? I know that many exist. And how do we make sure that we could develop our skill sets in safe places or within our communities that also are installing the solar and the community solar within our communities, right? That's how we can stand to benefit this. In 2019, Mother Jones came out with a wonderful article that talked about 83% of all renewable energy jobs, but especially solar jobs, are actually not held by people of color, right? And so we need to make sure that we uplift people like Adam in the community, because he's actually quite literally an expert and a whole canary around here. And then we need to make sure that we do what Roger said and continue to organize, find language that meets people where they are, and then tell them that this is what the forefront of labor and workforce development looks like, because we are literally changing our infrastructure. The infrastructure we were born with and the infrastructure that we will become ancestors with is literally not the same infrastructure, even down to our grid. So we have a great, great time right now to make sure that in places like Dayton, in places like Cleveland, in places like Youngstown, in Lima, where automotive and different jobs left us and abandoned us, that we now can bring the same skill set to make sure that those ground mounts can continue to be produced in Ohio, but be also produced by a diverse skill set who are looking to recoup some of the things due to the harm that we've been subjugated to, right? Due to environmental issues and climate change and weathering and so many other comorbidities. So I just wanted to overemphasize those points, mainly because I'm very passionate about those areas. Alrighty. And so we are going to move on to the next question. And the next question is really about Adam, tell us about the work that you and Aharon did at Riddall and the UAI with the domes, because I was on Instagram a couple weeks ago seeing them, and I think they're amazing. So please tell us about how that process came together, what it looked like, and the role that it plays in making sure Riddall and UAI can continue to be community leaders and community partners.
Okay. So just to take it back, 2019, Aharon himself, me, my sister, and Amber, we went down to Colorado. Been talking about the dome previous to it, and we really went down there. We really went and seen the dome, and honestly, he stayed true to his vision, and he really, you know what I'm saying, did everything that he could do to make it happen, and he made it happen. The process of building the dome, just like I said, I built hoop houses and greenhouses as well in the neighborhood. And it wasn't the same construction as building a hoop house or a greenhouse. It was a lot of different. It took us a while to really catch on to you know what I'm saying, to the blueprints of it and everything. But as we got the feel of it and everything, we got it going. We got it done pretty fast in 3 weeks, right before, you know, the opening ceremony and everything. And it's very beneficial. 100% off grid. Like I said, it's not tied into the grid at all. Like I said, when I was hooking up these solar panels, they're a little bit different from what I'm used to hanging up. And yeah, I promise you, the dome will be sustained 100% off the sun. Honestly, it cools as the sun hits the panels. The fans kick on. It cools it down. It has a spillway like for the pond, so we got it wired up to a switch. So like it's an on and off switch. You could turn it on and off at any time, and Yeah, that's about it. It was actually good, and I'll be ready to build more here soon.
Uh, that is low-key mechanical engineering. Like, I don't know, because I understood what you were saying, but I didn't understand that. That gives it to the power of why it's important to have experts in our arenas, right? Because it allows Riddle and the UAI to continue to provide like year-around services that is off-grid in the middle of very cold Cleveland in the wintertime, right? To community. So the service doesn't stop. How we show up for our community doesn't stop. And I wanted to make sure I mute myself just to give Roger any time and space, because you said you saw the domes at Fresh Fest.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what, Adam? Ridall has an awesome Fresh Fest, a yearly Fresh Fest, and I was there. It was a couple months ago now, and there must have been, I don't know, like 10,000 people there, huge turnout, like really good concert, just a beautiful community building event. And I saw the domes, Adam, and it seemed like it was almost like a dome to create like a calm, like peaceful environment. And then you're saying there's panels on there. Like help me understand a little bit. So is it so that you can go in there and just be calm, be warm
Hey,
as you need? Like the what?
Tim, do you want to chime in on that?
I was trying not to call out Tim.
I can. So the overall goal is to help the community heal. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. The overall goal of the dome and Aharon's vision is to help the community heal. One of the biggest problems is we're trying to teach people how to eat healthy and live right, but at the same time, there's so much trauma that's been done where you got to start where the root, which is the community and the people. So before you get the people to change their eating habits, you got to help the people go ahead and reset their souls and create another opportunity just to see value within themselves to want to do better and eat better and see more and build more and become part of the community. So with the rich aromatherapy and aromatic all the different herbs that you'll smell inside of there, it's a space for the community to heal, ground. So partnering up with yoga instructors, Reiki practitioners, licensed therapists, counselors, um, chiropractors, and other community partners that are helping serve this community. So it's not just on one group to just do all of this work, but everybody coming together as a community and a collective just to provide, more healing and extra layer of access of guidance, to these communities that are underserved. So it's really there just to help the community repurpose, reevaluate, and regenerate their whole mind state.
As a herbalist and as an energy worker and as a trauma informed coach, like I am all for that. And thank y'all so much for Tim for coming off mute and highlighting. For everybody who doesn't know, that is Mr. Tim Lewis. He's a part of the family who founded and continues to run Riddle in East Cleveland. And I believe you also might be Adam's cousin also. Like, am I right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so
So
this is
that's
a
three
family
three
affair.
generations. You got three generations down there working.
Oh man, as an owner of a homestead and apothecary, I can't wait for my family to get 3 generations in of doing this. But as Tim said, a healing space to be able to change the mindset so people who have been through a tremendous amount of trauma from living in a society can begin to see themselves and experience themselves differently so that they can change their mindset to understand the impact of healthy food and clean eating and what it has on our bodies. But in order to do that, we have to provide spaces to allow people to release their trauma and release the things that they have been through and making sure that it's done on our terms. Um, and I've been up there, so I already know the herbs. The herbs are already aromatic that y'all grow in your hoop houses, so I can't wait to come back up there just to see what the dome looks like. This is the first time we've had so many questions from the live, y'all, and I want to respect everybody's time. So we're gonna hop right into the questions. And so Adam, one question is for you, or two questions for you, and it's asking, has it been easy finding solar install jobs in Ohio compared to other states?
I feel like the company I work for, it was No, I'll say this, and it wasn't as easy. Like some days we definitely didn't have installs out here in Cleveland. Installs would slow down at points, but like I feel like the biggest market to me was in Kentucky. We never ran out of work out there in Kentucky. It really wasn't that hard finding. Only thing I say is for real, honestly, it's hard finding a good paying job, but honestly, finding a solar job in Ohio, no, it's not too many companies doing it out here, honestly, realistically. The only company I really seen is Yellow Light and the company that shut down I used to work for, Power Home Solar. But it's not too many companies out here in Ohio that I know of because I've been still like searching, you know what I'm saying, for install jobs, but it's not easy to find solar job in Ohio now.
Hoping to be able to change that. I forgot one important question, and that is, Roger, before we hop off of here, and thank you so much, Adam, for saying that. Please tell us about House Bill 197 and why it is so important that we know about this bill and it passes.
Yeah, so so Adam, Jasmine, and I we were talking about community solar, earlier. What that is, how great it can be, how community solar it can really open up solar access to the masses of people in Ohio. It really can. And so what's exciting is right now in the Ohio legislature, there's a bill. It's House Bill 197. It's a community solar pilot program. If we can pass this bill, House Bill 197, it would enable community solar in Ohio. What it would look like is it would create a pretty big pilot program where it would allow 1,750 megawatts of solar. And just to translate that, that could power about 350,000 homes. So this pilot program, it's a significant amount of solar. Maybe to put it in perspective again, it would make up about 1.5% of all the energy use in Ohio. This community solar pilot program would handle that. That might not seem like a lot, but honestly, it would double the amount of solar that we have in the state. Some of the jobs issues that Adam was referring to, that this would just help create way more jobs and action in the state of Ohio. And so, yeah, so the bill currently it's in the House of Representatives. It's been introduced. It has bipartisan support. So it's actually been introduced by 2 Republicans, Representative Hoops and Ray, and then there's Democratic support as well, which is exciting. I think one thing about community solar, you can really build coalitions around it. You can get industry support, small businesses. You can get working families involved. We've had union support from the electrical workers. Even large businesses, they might want it because they can put panels on their roof, and then they can sell that energy to the neighborhoods around them, and it can be a win-win. So this bill is live, House Bill 197. We're trying to move it through. I've got maybe a link in the chat. We'll throw up in there if folks want to get involved. Like, you can send an email to your legislator, but also just get involved with this campaign. Because I think that the magic is that we got to leverage our power to move this bill forward. In red states, community solar has not really passed yet. Community solar exists in 22 states across the country. It's tried and true. We know how to do it. We've seen success. I think Adam has experienced it. And a number of my colleagues have. So it's not new, but in red states, it'd be a huge victory if we could do this. And in Ohio, we got a shot. We have an actual shot to pass this thing, and it'd be huge if we could.
Thank you. Thank you so much for telling us about the House Bill 197. That's the community solar bill. And yes, thank you so much, Roger. We will make sure to include what you linked here and what you gave us here, and make sure that it will be listed on the socials for more people to be able to look at. And I think we had 2 more questions to round out the night from our community members. And one more person asked, and I think this question might be geared towards you, Adam. Where would be the best place to look for work leads if a person was trying to get into community solar or solar work?
Can you ask that one more time?
Absolutely. What are the leads, or what should people do who are trying to get into being a solar installer?
I'm sorry. But me personally, I got into solar word of mouth. My guy was into solar, but I mostly find most of my jobs on Indeed, and I look for certain things in companies. You know what I'm saying? How long they've been in business, how many states they're in, how much they're paying, all types of different aspects. But I don't just go to any solar company because I do side installs right now, so I don't work for a solar company. And I find I really just been doing solar so long, people know, what I'm saying, my good chemistry in the solar industry. So I do solar inspections, I do site surveys, and I do troubleshooting. So I go back and fix services like that. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that information and answering for our community members. And I'm going back through the questions to make sure that we have another one. Another person asked, Adam, can you provide info about the program for at-risk youth that you mentioned? Or I think that might have been you, Roger. Did you talk about at-risk youth in the program that you used to work for with gun violence?
Oh yeah, the gun violence prevention program. Yeah, well, so that's essentially we have youth mentors that will be at basketball courts. We have folks out at Madison Park in Lakewood, Ohio, and then we've had folks out at the Bluestone basketball courts in Euclid, Ohio. And essentially it's having a youth mentor at the basketball courts, doing the basics like creating a positive environment, greeting the youth, over time building relationships, being kind of a trusted mentor. But it's little touches, and then you kind of build up to something more significant. But essentially it seeks to create a calm environment at the public basketball courts where we know that's where the youth are at, that's where people are coming out. So it's trying to get folks there. I'm happy to like share more. I mean, that's not for my job here, but I'm happy to talk about it. Just my personal stuff. I'm involved in like local organizations that do that. I'll throw my email up or my phone number. Happy to talk more.
That'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then real quick with the jobs, I'm going to throw a link. There's an organization. It's called Green Energy Ohio, GEO. They're kind of an umbrella group that works with a lot of the solar installers in the state of Ohio, Green Energy Ohio. And so that might be a way to look at the different installers when there's jobs that are popping, or organizations like installers that you can reach out to talk about jobs. I think that could be an option. And then also, I think the Electrical Workers Union, the IBEW, they have apprenticeship programs, and they're going to be more focused on solar as this industry expands. So that you can go the union route or try to go directly to the installers. And I'm going to throw these links up here in the chat for some of that.
Thank you so much. And we will make sure that gets to our community members who are asking the questions on the live. Okay. This has been, we reached the end of the conclusion of us being here tonight at Ohio Voices, Informing Energy Choices, talking about solar. And I just want to say thank you so much to our panelists, Adam Durden and Roger Sikes. Roger is at Sun Solar United Neighbors, and Adam is CEO and founder of Durden Improvements. So we want to thank both of them for coming here tonight and teaching us about solar, teaching us about community solar. Make sure you look up House Bill 197, which would be about the pilot program to initiate community solar within the state of Ohio, which is a major game changer and absolutely the first step into making sure that we can participate in renewable energy in this way. The links that Roger just gave will be in the chat. I also would like to thank Bell, my team at Bell. Thank you so much. And my team at CommEN, thank you so much for always making this happen. And with that, y'all, until the next episode, we will be logging out of this container for the night. But thank you so much for being in community and learning with us. And let's do what we can to make solar a reality in Ohio, y'all. All right? I'll see y'all later.